All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Seth Storsett calling to order the LTAC meeting for December 27th. Josh, I'll pass it over to you for roll call and run us through this agenda.
Sure. All right. Let's see. We've got Sue Brayton,
Here.
Janae Matan.
Here.
Our other collector is, oh, should have lost my list. James Carr is not present with us. We have Mary Damaris,
Here.
Lindsay Stover,
Here.
and Stephanie Lyle. I think Stephanie was planning to be here, but I don't see her. And that should be all of us. Yeah, so really we only have one thing on the agenda today, and that is to review the recommendations from council. And I'm trying to pull that up here real quickly. Sorry, I have about 30 windows open on my computer. So council met back, I believe it was the end of October, maybe early November, and they reviewed all of the recommendations from LTAC, and they came up with 3 changes they wanted to make. And the way the process works is they take the recommended funding that you present to them, and they review it, and then they can modify the amounts that are proposed if they so choose. The only caveat is if they change the amount, we have to come back to LTAC and let LTAC know, and then LTAC can make a recommendation back to council on whether they think that should go forward or not. Oh, Stephanie's coming on here. The recommendation that LTAC gives back to council, though, council can disregard it if they want to and just go ahead with what they were planning anyway. So it's just it's literally just a recommendation. It's not nothing that council's bound to. So all right, so there are 3 changes. The first one is the Downtown Waterfront Alliance. In this year 2022, the city had a contract with them for $35,000 for operations. Later on, I believe in the summer, we upped that to $50,000 total for operations and a few shoulder season events. So that was the city's general fund contribution in 2022. This year for 2023, LTAC recommended funding $10,000 for the Girls Night Out program and $20,000 for the Farmers Market program. I think you'll recall when we did the review of their application, we noted that the farmers market actually operates at a loss. And so we talked about funding that additionally. Council looked at that too, and they did want to kind of increase the funding to make up for that loss. So the recommendation is increasing the total $30,000 that LTAC recommended to $50,000, and then rolling over the $50,000 in operations from the general fund into LTAC for $100,000 total in funding to the Waterfront Alliance. So that'd be, I think, we add it all up, it's $56,000 for operation, $33,000 for the farmers market, and another $10,000 for Girls Night Out. So that will all come out of the LTAC fund in 2023.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Yep.
Mary, what was the city giving you before this last year? Can't hear you, sorry.
You would think after all this time, I would remember to do that. So there was 35 for the general fund for operations, and then there was additional LTAC funding for the farmers market. And
in the last years, have you gotten money from the city like the last 10 years, or I didn't?
We've gotten money from the city every year as a contract, as a services contract.
And is about that same amount?
It's been 35 consistently. They added the additional 15 later in 2022 because the downtown businesses have been hit so hard, not only by COVID, but by the construction. And they wanted us to create some kind of an event that would get people into downtown, which is where the cookie stroll came from.
Okay. Okay.
And then I would like to mention too that they are utilizing the B&O tax credit program with this $100,000, and so they will be getting a credit of $75,000 back. So their actual outlay to the Alliance will be the 25. And Sue, Best Western uses it, so I know you understand the B&O program.
Yeah, I struggle so much just taking money from the city funds. Now we're taking it from there. Why can't we sit down and look at how can we cover some of these operating costs? How can we sustain you as a nonprofit? I guess I I think it's a lot. And I don't, did they get approval, Josh, to do that BNO? Did the city get approval to do that,
Yeah, we're registered for that. Yeah.
to program? Okay, you do qualify for it. So why wouldn't they qualify for it if they kept it from the city fund? I'm asking.
It is a tax credit, so they have to utilize tax money.
So the way that utility tax credit works is it just reduces the amount that we pay in utility tax each year. So that will just basically mean our utility fund is not being drained as much. So it doesn't really matter if we spend this out of the general fund or out of the lodging tax fund. Those funds are not going to get replenished with that 75,000 that we're reimbursed for. So once it's out of the general fund or out of the lodging tax fund, it's just gone. It's just the savings to us is that we don't pay as much out of our utility fund.
Right, but you're getting quite a savings, plus
Yeah.
you're not giving them the 35. I have a real struggle with that to approve it. I guess I'll send my comments to the city council, because at this point, there's nothing we as a committee can do, correct?
Well, this is an opportunity for you to make your comments to the city as a body. So if you as a body don't feel like this is an appropriate allocation, then you can make that motion or make that
Sure.
comment.
Just to add something in there, and Josh, maybe you'll recall this from the meeting as well, but we did ask, when this tax comes back to us from the utilities, where it goes in the fund. Does it just go back to the general fund, or can it go to the LTAC as a credit? And I don't believe we got an answer back on that. Maybe you heard.
Yeah, it's not money that we see that the state gives back to us. It's money that we don't pay. So we pay a utility tax from our utility fund each year.
Okay.
Because we're doing that, the tax we pay is going to be less. So it's just less money coming out of the utility fund.
But the city, it's a savings to the city, correct?
Yes.
Not in any way do we get, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you're getting that benefit plus not paying that amount. But you could be getting that same benefit if you kept it in the general fund, and that could be more of
Yes.
a wash.
Yeah, the reason for moving it from the general fund to the lodging tax fund is that the lodging tax fund has more money that's appropriate for this use, and the general fund could use the flexibility of not having it come out of that. So for this year, we're proposing it to come out of the lodging tax fund.
I understand that. So that was, whose decision? Just, is it the city council or who
Yes,
proposed
yeah.
that?
Yeah, it was
Well,
presented to the city council by staff, and council agreed that was the way that it should be allocated.
I think, Sue, I think that maybe they should just take all of the money and just have it be zero.
Well, I kind of am
Because-
feeling that way now. We have this huge going to the city. I mean, really, basically, yeah. Anyway, it's very frustrating to read that. And not that I don't think the Alliance is great, the museum's great, the city, as far as the marketing, I get no benefit, haven't gotten any benefit for the last 4 years, but whatever that is, but that's in there too. So for me, I just read this and look at it, and it's very disturbing. Yeah, very disturbing to me.
Well, I think it is important to remember that one of the aspects of LTAC that is an allowable thing is operations funds for tourism serving nonprofits. And that's what all of them are supposed to do. And it's not just promotion of tourism, it's the operations. So, these
Right,
are year-round
but-
organizations. So,
Stephanie, we have 2 organizations that aren't, I mean, that we are sustaining them, right? Without this funds, you wouldn't be able to keep your doors open.
no, we
Because
would
the
have to
city
find the money
doesn't give you-
someplace else, I mean, honestly, if your city doesn't support you, that's kind of sad. So if
Okay.
the city didn't provide these funds, we would have to find them somewhere else.
But it's not the city, it's the hotel owners who have their clients are paying this extra tax that then goes to fund these other organizations.
Yeah,
So-
but honestly, I mean, you have to think about it as sort of like, we don't have control over what gets done with sales tax, except as a taxpayer. But we, yes, we have this commission, which is great, but saying that we have ultimate control over every dollar that comes in that's collected through that tax program I don't think it's realistic. to
We're
be
not
honest.
saying that, Stephanie. What I'm saying is you have a museum and we have the Alliance that without the city support, and I understand that, but why aren't we looking at how can we, you know, if as a business, we all have to look at our budgets and go, where can we cut costs? What can we do different? How can we, I also have a nonprofit. For my nonprofit, I have to go, how can I get another grant? How can I go out and get
Yeah.
funding? It's not all about, and now, so next year, what, or if we have another recession or we have another bad year, what's going to happen to the funding that's coming from this source? The city tax base is, that's pretty stable, isn't it, Josh? I mean, you've got enough businesses going that your tax base, but we have a hit again at the hotels, then is that, you're not going to have your 30,000, you're not going to have your 100,000. I just, it makes no sense to me, as a person, a business owner, and I get nonprofits, I get all that, but it just, we need to sit down and have somebody look at these budgets and go, what can we do different? How can we fill it in there? So, yeah,
Well, I think-
and I don't think it's fair to the other nonprofits that we are fully sustaining, you know, so what's going to happen? Who would it be next year that's down there that's going to need more? Or, you know, do we just keep increasing, taking it out of, I don't know. Those are my concerns.
Well, I think there's another aspect to this from the nonprofit side too, is LTAC has traditionally been a reimbursement-based program. If we don't get reimbursed until next year for all of the outlay of money that we submit, then you know, that takes some creative budgeting to make the ends meet on that. So I think that's one of my concerns. I don't know if Mary or Lindsay has that concern, but you know, in the past, we've had funds from the general fund that got now this year added into the LTAC or drawn from the LTAC. I don't know if that's going to be a reimbursement basis or not. If it is, that
I think it has to be, doesn't it, Josh? Doesn't it have to be?
We have to have a record of the actual expenses being paid. We don't have to wait till the end of the year to do that. So if the History Museum wants to break that up and report quarterly or every few months and get partially reimbursed, we can do that. We've been doing that with the Harbor Wild Watch. So we can write that into your contract when the time comes.
okay.
Ours has been a quarterly payment with 2 reports.
And we've been giving this money out for how long, Josh, now? Because there was many years that we only spent the tax money towards bettering the hotels, more advertising, you know, bringing people into town. How, you know, this has only been 5-7 years, Sue. How long have we been giving this money out? It's not been.
Oh, yeah.
This is not the reason why LTAC was invented, was to give
Right,
money
where
to
we did the
nonprofits.
grants. Yeah, it was more, we did the city of, you know, the Pierce County, you know, tourism, Kitsap, and then the museum was always something. I think Alliance has always been something, but yeah, it's totally different. And so, yeah, it's, and the sports complex, you know, I've talked to Katrina about it. It's as far as, you know, it's going to take years before there's enough fields and then there's enough thing to see any, you know, any fruit from that, if ever, because you have to have so many teams. If you talk to Dean at the, you know, in Pierce County, he, you know, we have to have so many fields and stuff to bring tournaments and things in to bring. So just a lot of money. And I think it's been a hard couple of years for us as hotels to have any marketing backup, any marketing, what do I want to say, support. I've had absolutely none. And so that's frustrating to me to see that huge amount go there, huge amounts go here, but we're not getting anything back in return. So that's.
But you should be, Sue, because there's a significant investment on the part of the city and the tourism department.
Have you? I mean, I don't know. Have you? I've asked for things and not gotten them, and it's been very frustrating, very, very frustrating. So. And again, there's no accountability, Josh. Does that make sense? Because you hire the person, you know, the person's controlled basically by the city. And there used to be more of a partnership feel there. I could ask questions. I could say, hey, I need this, I need that. And I have had absolutely none. So it's hard to just say, oh yeah, let's just up that more, and let's up this and let's up that. So that's where I'm at.
As far as the city's marketing their tourism program, our program, we have the discretion to do that. I don't know. I'm not part of that department, so I don't know what the communication was like with Laura when she was the director, or how things like that were done. But what you're saying, making a collaborative and cooperative thing should be the goal for that department. So we'll definitely have opportunity to make sure that's happening with the next person that's in that position.
I just know it took a while to get somebody in that position. And then, so it's been, I don't know, 4 or 5 years of maybe, yeah, not a whole lot. And yet the money has still, I believe, gone out. Sure, it has.
So that's one of the issues we face this year when we have that surplus in the LTAC budget of over $1 million. It's because we haven't been able to spend the money because we've had the turnover in that department. And we keep asking for the money and intending to use it, and we're never quite able to fully use it. So that's why the account has that really high surplus right now.
Well, let's hope we can get somebody in there fairly soon, and an assistant for them if that's what's been in the budget for the last couple of years. But I just, again, I can't support the increases, but again, we're not voting, so I'm just giving you my thoughts.
Okay, so the other two increases there are the 500,000 additional for the sports complex phase 1B project. And then the additional 30,000 for the Harbor History Museum. So the lodging LTAC recommended 40,000 for the museum for marketing, exhibits, and operations. The city has traditionally given the museum 30,000. I think that's a 5-year contract that just expired. So rather than renewing that 5-year contract, we're rolling that $30,000 in addition to the 40 that LTAC recommended for a total of 70. So that's the third change that's being proposed.
And so Stephanie has no guarantee of the 30,000 like she did before. You had a 5-year contract, correct? I'm saying Stephanie.
I did, yeah, I did have a 5-year contract. This is just a 1-year situation. So we hope to go back to that contract, but it funded about 5,000 visitors a year, and we have more than that. So it's good value for the dollar, honestly. And certainly goodwill on many parts for being able to invite people to the museum at no cost. So that's it's good.
I don't know that that's always the best either. No cost, no value, in my opinion. So again, it doesn't make sense to me, but.
Well, there's a certain accessibility aspect to it that one of our goals for the organization is to be as accessible as possible to both travelers as well as local residents. And when we're able to be free and open, it makes a big difference because a lot of local people bring their friends from out of town down to the museum. People come back on a repeated basis, which is a very important thing in the museum world, is trying to get repeat visitors. We do recognize that more than half of our visitors come from out of town. So that is a big part of the justification for LTAC dollars. Not to mention that many other cities throughout the state support their local museums with LTAC dollars as well. So I think that there's definitely value for the dollar there, but whether it comes out of LTAC or it comes out of the city general fund, it doesn't make a lot of difference to us, but certainly we want to make sure that every dollar that comes in is being wisely used, and that's the plan. So.
I'll throw out there that here at the Scanzi Visitor Interpretive Center, we get inquiries constantly about what can I do for free? What can I do that's not going to cost me an arm and a leg? And that's not just people that have maybe many children that don't want to pay per head. It's, couples that are well off that want to get the best bang for their buck. So it's very nice to be able to send people down to the museum and say that it's free of charge to explore.
Yeah, and of course we do ask for donations, and the donation bin is doing okay. And that makes a difference. And if someone goes through the museum and at first they're not sure they want to donate, by the time they're done visiting, they typically do. And, so that makes a big difference for us.
Do you still do memberships? Like we used to have a membership.
Yeah, of course.
Why would I have a membership if I can go for free?
Well, A, to support the museum, B, On a second level, we do have the membership that includes the North American Reciprocal Museums Association. So if you're traveling, it's a great opportunity to support your local museum, but also have the opportunity to access other museums around the country for free or reduced rates. So that makes a big difference for a lot of people.
I have no idea. So maybe you need to promote that a little bit more as a source of income. I'm just saying, because I certainly wasn't aware of that, because I just thought, why would I have a membership if if it's free? But
Yeah.
Again, we can agree to disagree all day long on that. So
You probably will, yeah.
yeah, okay.
It's fine.
And I have a real concern with the money coming out of the LTAC money for things that the city was funding, that they think there's value there. And so.
Yeah, well, it may be a one-year, one-time situation. I mean, that's.
I
my
think it'd be pretty hard to go back, Stephanie, once they grab it. I would think it would be hard to go back to the city fund.
Well, if the money's not there, Sue, they can't grab it. So obviously, this will use up quite a bit of the reserve. And then next year, they'll have to have another solution because there won't be as much money in the fund.
Seth, are you still on?
Yeah.
No,
Yes,
Seth.
I am.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So was there a discussion about this at a council meeting?
There was obviously a discussion. One of the big things we haven't really talked about is that the council, after the staff reviewed it, made some recommendations back to council. Initially it was cutting all of the recipients except for the 3 that we're talking about now, and reduced them down. The city council wanted to move that back to what the committee had recommended and fully funding. So those are the big ones. But as far as talking on the history museum, for example, there was discussions around the budget and finding a way to be more self-sustainable. That was similar even to the farmers market as well. So I think that council, obviously majority of council, are looking at this as a surplus year. And of course, we don't exactly foresee a downturn, with LTAC, but or impact on our economy. But it seems like we've had a lot of money that hasn't been going out. I think this is somewhat a way of trying to catch up, or I guess give while we have it, would be my comments.
So do you agree? Just asking.
I do. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, I voted, in favor of I would be voting in favor of the recommendation of what they have now. I wouldn't say that all of my items were, as I would like to see it. I thought it was pretty substantial, and we talked about that, openly as a group, which can be awkward when we have so many recipients that are also on. Yeah, this was definitely seen by the value of the whole council as what we would do, going forward. And of course, wanting the feedback, does seem a bit unprecedented. I don't see how we could sustain this for a long period of time. Personally, I like to see things a little bit more balanced and not just give to something because they can't make a budget. So I think there's a fair amount that the city can do to contribute, but we need to limit that as well. So Sue, I don't know if I truly answered your question or not. I feel like I sounded a little flip-floppy, but this was
yeah.
I know. It's it's how the council would like to go forward. So I have my opinion, of course, but it doesn't overrule the whole council. So
well, there you go.
So at this point, council will adopt these by resolution at their next meeting on January 9th. So at this point, LTAC, you can just acknowledge that the council's wanting to make these changes. You can put forward a motion to support the changes or put forward a motion to comment on them. It's really up to you as a body what you want to do at this point.
And can Stephanie and Mary vote on their own?
Yes. Yeah.
They can vote on their own.
Yes.
Okay. it's so, it just seems, not that, I'm just saying, how wrong is that? They're the two biggest recipients and they get to vote on it. I thought that was never allowed, or am I wrong?
Yeah, that's not correct. They are allowed to vote on their own.
And Stephanie and Mary, these aren't, when we're frustrated, it's not that for you, we're not attacking you guys as individuals or even the organizations. It's just, if
Yeah.
two other nonprofits were in your positions, we all would be feeling the same way anyway, or I would be feeling this same way. So it's not an attack on you guys. So please don't think of it that way. It's just frustrating when we've been in this for so long and seen it evolve. And it just feels like it's like we're just giving away money that we don't get the benefit of.
We work really hard to balance our budget. I couldn't, if I didn't have the money for operations, I wouldn't be open, or we'd lay some people off, or I'd have to work 2 more days, so as it just is very frustrating as a business owner when I work really hard to meet my budgets, do what I have to do to cut it. And then to just, they run with a deficit every year. Well, let's just give more money. But no, let's come up with a better solution than just throwing money at it, in my opinion. So again, and
I just have to speak in defense of the nonprofits. So we're not running at a deficit without, you have to understand that if this money isn't there, the money comes from somewhere else. So no nonprofit is going to go, oh gosh, we can't make it, so let's just ask the city for more money. This is a funding opportunity that is available to us. We have to take every opportunity that we can, whether it's grants, memberships, donations, whatever the funding source happens to be that's available to us. We don't have rooms to rent. We don't have the opportunity to
you have a meeting room. Don't you?
Yeah, right. Well, that's not going to sustain anybody.
Okay, but here's my deal. For Optum, you've said if you didn't have that $30,000, I thought you were saying you couldn't stay open. I don't want to argue. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I get it, but it's just, why would we? You're saying you get the money from somewhere else, but you didn't ask for that money. The city's saying they're giving it to you. Okay.
Well, we did ask for the money. So we've had a contract with the city to support admission. If we did not have that funding, we would be charging $6 to $10 per person to come through the door. And I can guarantee you that our visitation would be much lower. So you have to decide, do you want to serve more people?
I don't agree.
Okay, well,
when was the last time you charged for
In
entrance? What year?
2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can tell you, our visitors
we are not
doubled.
here to attack each other. I have to.
But I'm just
my
trying to
opinion.
explain how this works because, you're feeling like you're just giving money away. Well, that's the whole purpose of an LTAC commission. If you look at the guidelines in the law, that's my understanding. So I don't feel like we're doing anything except for what we should be doing as a commission. And I realize that it's frustrating for you as a hotelier. Trust me, we promote hotels when people come down to the museum if they're looking for somewhere to stay. But 9 out of 10 people already have a place to stay by the time they step through the doorway of the museum. So that marketing has to happen on the other side, like the pre-visit side of it. So that's a whole other conversation, I think. But to say that these organizations are not worthy of support, I think is a little harsh.
That's not what we're saying. You're changing what I said. That's not at all what
Okay.
I'm saying.
Understood.
Okay?
Understood.
Yeah, don't put words in my mouth. Thank you.
Well, as a nonprofit who is not getting any additional money, I very much see the value of giving these funds to the Downtown Waterfront Alliance and the Harbor History Museum. So I will put forward a motion to, as a commission, accept the changes that the council has put forth to us today.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second on the table. Josh, do you facilitate this and do
You
I
can-
vote?
you
I don't
can-
actually vote on this then, right? Because I'm
No,
on,
you're required to vote.
Right.
too. So all.
Oh, I am.
6 of
Okay.
You are required to vote.
He's required to vote on a motion that, okay, wow.
I'm I'm a little bit confused
I've
myself,
got-
Josh. Are we
there's some
doing this the right way?
interesting rules going on today.
Yes, you are. The chair of the LTAC committee is a full member, and all full members need to vote on every recommendation that's put before LTAC, so.
Hmm.
Seth, if you want me to do a roll call vote, I can do that. That might be easiest. Keep track.
Yeah, I think we'll need a roll call, be best.
Okay. So go down the list. Janae Maton,
I disagree.
Sue Brayton,
I'm not in favor of the motion.
Lindsay Stover,
Yay.
Stephanie Lyle,
Yay.
Mary Damaris,
Yay.
and Seth Storsett.
This has been one of my harder votes, and it's crazy since it's a committee, but I'm gonna say yay. Yes.
All right, so that motion passes 4-2 then. I can convey that recommendation to council and it'll be part of their agenda packet with the resolution for January 9th.
So how would you recommend that we make our opinions known to the city then?
You can email the city council at mayor.and.council@gigharborlaw.gov.
So an email will be okay. Thank you. And Seth, I hope as our committee chair that you would also just express that the three receivers voted yes, I guess, plus you, and then the two collectors that were on the call, were not able to. So just so they understand that dynamics, okay?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Thank you.
Josh, is it possible to put like a a note or a comment with that motion that says that we basically are supporting this for this year, and that next year we would prefer to not have this be a standard for future years? I don't know how to word that right, but
To not have council change the amounts in the future.
not that they can't change the amounts, because that's fully their right, but in this particular instance, funds that had been from the general fund of the city are being drawn from LTAC. And I mean specifically the Downtown Waterfront Alliance and the museum. Monies that had been in the general fund before are now being pulled from LTAC this year. My concern is that LTAC funds won't be as robust next year, obviously. And so making this recommendation and having it stand as a practice for future years doesn't necessarily seem like a great strategy. But if we can say, for this year only, we make this recommendation because there is a high volume of reserve funds in the account. But for next year, we'd like to see some of those original general fund dollars come out of the general fund. I mean, I don't know how that gets phrased, but that may be a proactive way of suggesting to the council that always pulling from LTAC is not necessarily the best option.
So, yeah, so it sounds like that would be an amendment to the motion that you just voted on, to just add that caveat that you would encourage council to fund the things that have historically been funded by the general fund from the general fund in the future. Yeah, so if there's consensus, I can just amend the motion and put that on there. It seems like maybe there is consensus to have that added.
I'm fine
Yeah,
with
Stephanie,
that.
that was a good recommendation. I would agree with that.
The question is that the city's now on a 2-year budget cycle, is that correct?
Yes, city's on a 2-year budget, but LTAC will be on a 1-year cycle.
Okay.
So we'll do this again next year. All right, well, I think I have what I need for that.
Hey,
Before we
Josh,
adjourn-
another question.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Sue.
I just want to ask, because every year we've never seen the results of where people have spent their money. It's supposed to turn in the paperwork, correct, after they get the grants. And so I don't remember ever seeing those. Do you, Janae, or any of you guys? We've asked for them because it's always, it's the wrong time. So they're supposed to be in by the end of the year, correct? Am I correct on that? If they received funds this last year, they're supposed to have a, what do you call it? Recap, or what do you guys call the?
It's a report and a reimbursement request.
Correct. So we could see where those funds were actually spent before we, because whenever I've asked for them, when we're looking at next year's, they go, oh, we don't have them. So if there's a way we could see those in the next, if you have them now, because it's the end of the year in January, February, so we could be reviewing those.
Sure. I'm happy to send you my report.
Well, I would think the city should have them all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have, so when we pay the invoices, we have, everything is itemized by the people that submit them, so we get. Some of them are quite thick, so it's quite a lot of documentation, and I don't know that we'll be able to provide all of that to you. But we can give you the summary reports that we're supposed to be collecting. And I don't
Yeah.
know that we've actually collected those in years past, so when we do our roundup at the end of this year, we're gonna make sure we get those from everyone. And when we get those, that should be something that we can provide to you.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
Josh, I think it's really important that we get those because I think as we saw in the applications, there was,
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it's very, it's not a great algorithm for basing the funds. All these estimates of how many people stay or from how far they come. So the other thing I would like to ask for is that we change what will be the word for it? We align our voting rather than, I love having all the opinions but there's a lot of variables in there. But having something that's a little bit more straightforward to look at, where I think this equals that, I think could make things a bit easier for this group to determine amounts, not just based off of what they ask for, because that doesn't line up necessarily with how many heads are in beds. So I'd like us to look into seeing what other cities do. Since so many apparently have the LTAC, I would think that there's some better practices out there.
And I think I sent one last year, and that was something Laura was gonna be working with me on. So I don't know if we need a subcommittee or, a couple people to do that. Or Josh, are you able to do that? I don't know who's, I don't know who's in charge anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we will work with whoever the next marketing director is going to be and see what direction we can go with that. But there's a lot of different directions to take that. And so it's going to really depend a lot on who we bring into that position. And a lot of it will depend on the direction from city administrator and the mayor too. So stay tuned on that one, I think is all we can say at this point.
Right. And I have to say that, there's something at the state level that is a little frustrating for us is that they ask for this information that we can't get from our visitors. It's not, unless we do a very targeted, like 1 week survey during the summer or something, we don't know if someone came. And I know if someone came from more than 50 miles away, but I don't know where they stayed. And so it's not something that is really easy for us to get that information, without being invasive to someone's privacy.
Didn't
So
Laura have the geoteching or
source.
yeah, something like that, but I never saw data from that. If somebody else saw it,
did anybody?
We requested it to submit with our applications, but we did not get the data.
Yeah.
And the guidance from the state on this is what Stephanie's describing. This is something the state expects, and their guidance is basically just do your best, give us your best estimate, and they don't expect these to be hard numbers or data that they're going to use.
Yeah, but we paid quite a bit of money, according to Dean, even though we could have gotten it through Pierce County for the city of Gig Harbor. And so I believe he has that information now. So I would reach out to Dean to get it, because I don't know how he happened to get it, but somehow he did at the end.
So would that data provide something as specific as Joe Smith used his credit card to stay at the Best Western and also used his credit card to buy something in the museum store? Is it that specific?
I believe it is. Yeah, not by name. I don't think it's by
Right,
name
right.
necessarily, but yeah. Mhm. But
Interesting.
Dean should be able to get you that.
That
'cause I
seems like
believe-
a pretty complicated database to mine. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. But I know we had it, and we will have it. So, okay.
Okay.
So before we close, I guess I should say this will be my last meeting.
Oh,
And I will submit a letter of resignation so that it's all official.
Mm,
So I've enjoyed serving on it for many years. And I just wish you all the best going forward.
We've enjoyed having you, Mary. And I heard, did you guys hire Carrie Ann? or not? Is that a secret?
No, the press release has gone out. I don't know if it's anybody, but yes, we did.
Okay, just because she's lovely. I think she'll be a good fit to replace you, I think. Yeah, hard to replace. She's great. Okay,
May I ask, Josh, has the position been posted yet? Is that in process?
I don't believe it has, and I don't know where that's at. That's not a conversation I've been privy to, so I don't know where they're at with the filling that. And the assistant position is also vacant, so I'm not sure what the process is there.
If we have questions on things that were in the works but never got completed, where should we direct those questions?
Just let me know, and I will try to figure it out the best I can from what I have in Laura's files here, and we'll piece it together till we can figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, anybody have anything else? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move,
and I'll
I
second it.
second.
adjourn.
Everyone is in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thanks, everyone. Happy New
Aye.
Year.
Thanks.